Okay, good afternoon. Hello, hello. Standing room only, look at this. I'm told it's the first one, so I can claim there's at least one person standing, so we can claim that. My name is Dries. I'm Managing Director at Chat Automation. Today we're going to talk about the future of recruitment in practical action with AI and automation, because I'm sure like me, not a day goes by where you don't see something about AI and recruitment that hits your inbox, but the room can go a little bit quiet from time to time when it comes to, okay, AI is going to change recruiters' lives, show me how, and then it can go a bit stum. So today, hopefully, we'll be putting that to bed. So let's address the elephant in the room first and foremost. Will robots replace recruiters? Normally, I have like a nice video, but we're a bit pushed for time, so no suspense whatsoever. My opinion, robots are not going to replace recruiters, but the recruiters using AI and automation will replace those that don't. I mean, this is a really well-trodden path. I think that's actually a bit of a cliche answer now. So is it actually the right question for us to be asking? Because as we said earlier, AI and automation, so what? It's not 2022 anymore where a lot of us recruitment agencies were buying new tech because it was shiny, we were doing quite well so we could afford to. The reality is we're in a bit of a world where people have got a bit tired of implementing new technology, right? So my first kind of bit of advice is take a business case first approach, because whether it's AI, automation, or it's a new CRM, kind of doesn't matter. What business problem are you actually looking to solve? And if the answer is AI or automation, then great, but always start a business case first. Having said that, what if you could increase your revenues by giving the candidates what they want? Oh, and by the way, you can also reduce your operational costs to serve. And I think most of us will have this reaction. Apologies for those of you who aren't Borat fans. But any business owner, of course you want to increase your revenues and you want to reduce your costs. And that's where we will focus today. But before we do, let's have a look at what your candidates say. And this is from Bullhorn's The Grid 2024 Talent Trends report, where granted it's in the temp world, so they surveyed 2,400 temp workers, but actually what is it your candidates are after? And the clear message that's coming back from this report, which was only released a couple of weeks ago, is that your candidates, they feel the need for speed. There's 80% of candidates expect to be placed in less than 20 days. 81% of candidates say they're comfortable with AI in the recruiting process if it helps them, i.e. if it gets them into that job quicker, if it speeds up that process. The next one, though, is what really got me. More than 60% of candidates are comfortable with AI handling the entire recruitment process. So not just elements of, but actually the entire process. And what does that look like? What are the areas? So percentage of candidates comfortable with AI in job fit, onboarding, compliance, submitting time, doing credentialing, getting paid, and during the interview process. And we're going to cover these one by one as we go through this talk. Before we do, let's talk about tech, baby. This is what the experts say. So this is from the SIA, and apologies, I did say always go business case first. We're going to take a slight side step into tech, but these are all areas with the arrows that we will cover today. It's what we do at Chat Automation, but most importantly, it's what the SIA are saying will have a high to very high impact on the sector. So we have generative AI, machine learning, natural language processing, and RPA, which stands for robotic process automation. Our version of that, by the way, our stands just behind there, is a character called Dwight, and more on him in a little bit. He's really the star of the show. Okay, remember 81% of candidates say they are comfortable with AI in the recruiting process if it speeds up the process. And we're going to look at these two areas, finding the right job and making faster placements. And here I'm going to lift the veil a little bit on how we use conversational AI and generative AI as a means of generating more revenues for you guys. This is our chatbot. It's called TalentSift. It typically lives on the recruiter's website. And here, a candidate hits the chatbot. We validate the candidate against CRM, give them that highly personalized experience. We can do things like language localizations for those of you who work internationally, and then take their work history, and now we start to pull through open vacancies. So again, giving the candidates that there and then experience. Or we can let them apply just by uploading their CV. We match the candidate with the recruiter. If your recruiter's online, this is Microsoft Teams, your recruiter's now in live chat with the candidate, or if they're offline, which is what you will see in a minute, bear in mind we have qualified this candidate now for your recruiters already. They can book in straight with the recruiter, find a time to suit. And then what you're about to see is us interweaving in some generative AI as part of giving your candidates that highly personalized, sticky experience.
Library demo. Thank you for applying to be a medical technologist in the United States. You are the 4th person from Kenya to apply this week. You are confirmed for your interview with Dries da Costa at 3 p.m. East African time this coming Thursday.
So we're essentially using generative AI as a way of mail merging, but through video. And as a showcase, you wouldn't do this in real life, but we've actually mimicked the ethnicity, the sex, and even to a degree the accent, right, of the applicant, just to make them feel at home. So AI and automation as a revenue generative technology, first and foremost, it works 24/7. It sits there qualifying your candidates. From a candidate perspective to the top of the talk, in terms of what we discussed earlier, it's here to give them that instant gratification, match them to the jobs there and then. The recruiters end up with a well-qualified lead straight in their laps. The candidates stick here because of the highly personalized experience they have. And then ultimately, it leads to higher recruiter productivity because the top of the funnel is being automated to a large degree. So that enables your sellers to focus on selling, i.e. finding more clients and finding more candidates. Okay, bear in mind what we said about recruiters and AI. The same cannot be said when it comes to administrative roles within your recruitment agencies. This is a piece of work done by the Institute for Public Policy Research. And here we can see at the top, administrative occupations, according to them, will be completely augmented or displaced, the whole bar, by AI or automation. So that's a whole different ballgame. We've looked at job fit. We've looked at an element of the interview process. There's lots of vendors around the hall that cover that probably better than we do. We will look at time, we'll look at credentialing, we'll look at getting your candidates and you paid. But let's have a look at DWIGHT as part of a revenue cost saving technology, looking at onboarding and compliance. This is a real process. You'll see DWIGHT in action in just a second of one of our clients. They had 3 FTE that did this particular job. And the scenario is they were unable to get candidates from Bullhorn into their pay and bill system. As I say, bear in mind, there was 3 people that did this role. So this is DWIGHT in action now. Bullhorn Automation emails DWIGHT with the details of a new starter. He's now logging into the pay and bill system using ordinary login details just like you and I do, doing things like the 2-factor authentication, and is now going to create the candidate record in this pay and bill system. We're just going to give him a minute to catch up. He's going to complete the personal information, department and position information, and then also do the pay info and populate that. And then next what you'll see is he will start to generate the employment engagement contract, so the candidate engagement contract, sorry. So again, taking information from what was triggered by Bullhorn Automation and putting it into the contract and then emailing that out to your client. Now, it doesn't stop there. Next, he's going to, again, through the front end, using normal login credentials, he's logging into Bullhorn. He's going to say, okay, Dries is being employed by Chat Automation. We know for Chat Automation, we need to run these 7 background checks. He's going to order that background check package, then logs into Checker, which is the software that our client uses, downloads the PDF report, and will extract the key information from that report, put it in an email, and send it back to the recruiter. So, DWIGHT stands for Digital Worker Interface for Generic Human Tasks. He's a 24/7 digital worker, but costs a fraction of an FTE. So it works 24/7, gives you that 100% data accuracy because now people are no longer rekeying the data. We're simply moving it from one system to the other. And he's got a phenomenal attendance record. Never calls in sick, never goes on holiday. You never need to sort holiday cover for him either. He's 12 times as efficient as you and I, because for starters, on average, he's working 3 times as many hours per day, and then he will work 4 times quicker in and out of systems We don't charge a setup fee. We don't need you to change your processes, and we don't need you to change your system. You just pay Dwight a monthly fee, which ranges from £1,500 to £4,500, depending on the complexity of the process. And we basically swallow the cost of the build and spread that over a 36-month contract. So what you won't use him for is things that, for example, Access's product Elay or something like a bullhorn automation already does in your platforms. You know, the kind of jobs that take 10 minutes every other day for someone to do, use your in-platform automation. Where Dwight really lives is all the processes that fall between the cracks. Typically for us, that's in middle and back office processes where you will have more people, particularly if you're a temp agency, you tend to have more people in those areas having to do these kind of tasks in and out of systems. Okay, we've looked at job fit, we've looked at onboarding, we've looked at the interview process, we will look at time, we'll look at getting paid. We kind of looked at compliance, but there is more. And we will look at credentialing next as well. So what happens when you fuse chat with RPA? And this is now the two elements of what we do brought together. So here we are capturing from the candidates their certificate. So in the US, in nursing, you need an NCLEX certificate to practice. And now Dwight in the back office has gone into the credentialing platform called Nurses, enters the candidate data. Ironically, we'll tick the I'm not a robot reCAPTCHA. And we'll now find the license related to this candidate, download that license, go into your CRM and attach it to the candidate record. I see some smiles. That does tend to have that. He tends to have that effect when he ticks the reCAPTCHA. So we've looked at job fit, onboarding, compliance, credentialing. Now for getting paid and submitting time. Again, if you have timesheets in your agency, you're probably using a timesheet portal. However, what we find is most recruiters have a tail of timesheets that come in via text message, email, could be written on the back of a napkin almost. In this case, Dwight is reading time information from PDFs, extracting that information, we'll chuck it into a very modern piece of technology called Excel, and then that will get pulled into the pay and bill system. So that whole timesheet automation is something we do. Get your temps and contractors paid. By show of hands, does anyone use VMSs? One, okay. I'll skip part, no, I will cover it. But it's a increasing, it's an opportunity and a problem, right, for recruitment agencies, because getting the time information out of VMSs, most recruiters have 15 to 20 different VMS platforms they have to engage with. There's a cutoff on like a Tuesday afternoon. You've got 2 hours to get the time information out, do the validation, put it in your pay and bill system. Again, that is something we can absolutely automate with Dwight. And here you see Dwight again logging in to Commensura in this case, finding the candidate record, finding the time information, pulling that down into our trusted Excel sheet, and then pulling that into the pay and bill system. Okay. Most of us, when we're looking for information nowadays, do so conversationally. We are fed up of apps. I think it's fair to say most of us are using less and less apps. And that's really where we think chat is going. Chat will become your most knowledgeable recruiter. And again, this piece of software we call TalentSift. So we have the ability within our chatbot to scrape, for example, information from your own website, even from your competitor's website. So if a candidate wants to ask, okay, why should I work for chat automation? It will give a damn good answer to that question. Or we can take information from externally trusted sources. So, for example, if you're in international recruitment, that could be looking at things like immigration rules from the Home Office website, because that's ever-changing, ever-evolving. So if your candidate's asking anything to do with that, they will get a well-educated answer to the question. However, in this example, we have a candidate asking the question, and the question is, when am I being paid next and how much? And it's a really good example, again, of at the front end, the candidate asking for information, and then Dwight going behind your firewall into the pay and bill system, finding this information once he's obviously when he's satisfied that the candidate is who they say they are, and then pulling that straight through the chatbot, giving them again that there and then service to do with pay. And then just to show you it's not all bullhorn, this is in Vincere, looking at getting you guys paid now, so your invoice data. And again, we have the ability here to pull invoice information out of, in this case, Vincere, pull that out, and then go and generate the invoices for you, including doing things like chasing. Back to our trusted graph. So we've covered job fit, onboarding, compliance, time, credentialing, and paid, as well as the interview process. That should have been all, but I've put in one more on-call for you because I know you're begging for it. In this scenario, we're looking at business rule validation. And the situation here is when a recruiter makes a placement, typically a team leader would have to go and check that placement to make sure, does it adhere to our various business rules before Dwight or yourselves then go and generate the contract. So here what we're doing is actually extracting the information on the candidate, and Dwight is going to run a check of that candidate information against your business rules. So it could be it's checking for, are we making our 20% markup, whatever it might be. It's then going to email the recruiter back with a thumbs up to go, hey John, your placement of Dries is all good. We can now go and generate the contract. Or thumbs down, you need to go and sort out this area over here. It's not in keeping with our business rules, so we can't go any further. Go and fix it, and then we can generate the contract. So quick recap, use cases, the grow without growing piece. So we talked about VMSs very briefly, but essentially the more your reliance on VMSs grows, the more your back office will grow. So we often talk about Dwight as a way of growing without growing. So think about using this technology, again, at a fraction of an FTE cost, rather than having to hire additional people to do some of these admin-heavy processes. Outsourcing 2.0, it's a cost-saving technology. So having the ability to repurpose some of your existing FTE onto more meaningful tasks. We've already covered he works 24/7. If you are looking to outsource, unfortunately, you will still have some issues around data integrity and people being absent or leaving. Speed to the pound. So we've just signed contracts on Friday, actually, with a well-known temp agency in the UK. One of their issues, we're basically automating their whole onboarding process, generating contracts, doing the background checks, in and out of CRM, in and out of pay and bill. One of their issues was when we look to place a candidate, by the time a human gets involved, does all the background checking, etc., we basically are losing 24 hours of billable candidate time, right? So giving you the ability to accelerate that process, again, is something to consider Dwight for. Placement acceleration we've spoken about in terms of giving the candidates that there and then experience on the chatbot. And then invoice automation, again, is something we can do. If you have it in your invoicing platform, absolutely do that. But if anything is falling between the cracks, we can help with that too. Data quality is the other key use case we often solve for. So if you are having issues with data because rekeying is happening, think of employing Dwight, a digital worker. And if you've got no APIs, actually that's fine for us as well, because as I said earlier, Dwight can use login credentials the same as you and I to go in and out of systems. And then the unintended byproduct is your employee NPS will be going up. Reason being, they're not having to do some of these mundane, mind-numbing admin tasks anymore. You can put them onto the tasks that actually are much more challenging. And again, as an unintended byproduct of that, your staff retention should also be going in the positive direction. This is me. This is Dwight. Please feel free to connect with either of us or both. You can email Dwight. To spoil the fun a little bit on that, it will be me who's picking up the email on that, but you absolutely can interact with Dwight, and I'll open the floor to any questions.